All right. Hey there, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Gen Furukawa, marketing at Because, and today we are joined by Ashton Stansberry, Joe Hollinshead, who is a director of e-commerce at Spa Order. Joe, thanks so much for joining. I'd love to hear if we could just share a short intro to your role at Spa Order and your experience, your extensive experience in e-commerce.
Yeah, definitely. So I work for a company called Delasco, and Delasco is a dermatology supply company. And one of the brands that we kind of own is Spa Order. And Spa Order serves a professional estheticians that mostly in like the lash and brow, cosmetic, and waxing market. And so these are B2B brands. And although the Spa Order brand has a little bit more, it's treated more like a D2C kind of brand. There's a lot of, it's real colorful, it's really fun and all that. And this is the brand we chose to run the Because on the Shopify Plus platform.
Awesome. And so just to set some context, before you actually started with Because, what kind of challenges were you experiencing in terms of your conversion rate or your personalization, or how the site experience was for those B2B brands?
Yeah, so a couple of the issues that we had is that being a B2B site, we had different kind of audience segments. We not only had wholesale and private label customers, as well as we have regular kind of just smaller spa and estheticians that were using the site. So we were having a problem being able to dynamically put in messaging. And also it was really a hassle to go in and update product pages and the header banners on like the website, and just to kind of like do it in a fast way that could keep up with our like promotions. And we run a lot of promotions. On average, we run probably like 5 or 6 like big promotions every month for different types of products. And so having to swap those out and try to kind of hack your way into the theme and make it work was really kind of problematic. And so what happened is that, along with trying to find a way to add more personalization to our messaging, to target different audiences, Because was brought to our attention by one of our marketing consultants. And I took a look and I started playing around with it, and I liked everything about it from the very get-go. So that's kind of how we got started. And it really has helped. It's helped us be able to really adjust and add messaging, test things on the fly. We can test different types of things that we had on product pages. We can test segmentation. We can exclude segments from seeing messaging that we don't want them to see. And so it's pretty powerful. And so that's how we use it.
Yeah. So just to drill down into your Because experience, like if you wanted to do a promo for an upcoming campaign, would that be outsourced to a dev team, or would somebody in the marketing team have to kind of fiddle with the code, or how did that work?
Usually it would require, if we really wanted to do something big, it would require like dev work. But with Shopify, you can kind of get into the theme and you can kind of customize things. But a lot of our customization was done on like the homepage level. So like our promos, and even to this day, a lot of the big promos are done through image banners on the front of the site. But the problem is that if people were entering the site from email directly onto a product page, or they were coming from like SEO or something like that, they may not know about these promos that we're running that are only displaying on the front of the site. And so to me, when I found that we could add this across the entire site and we could test it, we could test messaging. Some of our messaging has become kind of evergreen messaging, or free shipping and things like that. It just allowed us to do things on the fly without having any dev effort needed, and without having to fiddle with the themes and cause something to break unexpectedly.
For sure.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's
yeah.
In itself a huge benefit, is saving time, saving money, and then of course not breaking the site, because that is like the ultimate, worst case scenario if a site goes down, especially around the time of a promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've all learned our lesson that way. We're making changes at the very last minute, trying to get something up. And then I get a call from our customer service department saying, hey, this is not the right promo code, or something along those lines. And then all of a sudden we had to drop everything and make these crazy changes really quickly. And this allows us to be able to go in quickly, make a change if we happen to need to make a change quickly. So.
Yeah. So once you made that decision, all right, things can be easier, faster, more scalable. Can you walk us through the implementation process once you decided that Because was something that you wanted to test out?
Yeah, absolutely. So from what I remember, Because has a really fantastic onboarding process. And this was something that I kind of felt as I was going through it. And so Ashlyn and the team like really took like this extra opportunity to walk us through. I mean, intuitively, the Because app, you can't really just drop someone into it and expect them to fiddle around and make it work perfectly right off the bat. There's a little bit of logic, there's a little bit of thought that goes behind it, and you don't really know the opportunities until they're kind of put right in front of you. So basically, we walked through this whole thing. We had a really great onboarding process. They got us up and going, and the first during the trial period was like some conversion testing. So it's like, hey, let's just do a baseline test without running any Because kind of like conversion kind of campaigns, no top bar banners, no little add to cart banners or anything like that. And then let's just do that, and we'll test it against the Because campaigns and see how we go. And I don't remember right off the bat right now. I know we have the metrics somewhere, but it was like a 10 to 15% lift. Just it was night and day, the difference between a blank kind of site where that wasn't really optimized in this way to just being able to put in that messaging. And to me, that was just the bare bones of like where Because was the opportunity. It was like, okay, this is great. This got us this like low hanging fruit right here. But if we can do this here, imagine what we can do with like the personalization or and the more I learned about the app as we went through it, and I got really hands into it because I'm one of those like digital marketers that really wants to understand how the products work and how they're affecting. I need to be able to defend the apps that we use as part of our tech stack to like leadership teams that may not fully understand or be on the cutting edge of what's going on. And so I also need to be able to help train someone in my own organization to help with this. And so the onboarding process was really pretty impactful. And I think that it's one of the things that really led me into because it made me want to trust them. I mean, I knew I had support and help at every angle. I mean, I was getting responses from Ashland. Like I wasn't even expecting Ashland to ever step in, at this point. I was expecting to have full work with like, you know, Mark and the other account manager team and all that. And yet she was quickly like paying attention to what the customers were saying. Like, oh, this is a good idea. Maybe we should try this. This is a neat feature. Thanks for bringing it up. And so to me, that kind of level of responsiveness and onboarding really shined according to a lot, like against a lot of other products that we've kind of looked at over the years. So
Making me blush, Joe.
oh, so it's true though. I think that the more that I think about it, I think that alone is a good case study for any company that's going to bring a customer on board, is to make them feel so familiar with the product, the opportunities, give them the support. Because I think that ultimately, especially when you're dealing with apps and things like that, people will start working on something until they get distracted or don't understand it. And we're all so ridiculously busy that we may never come back to it again. I
Yeah.
mean, I pay for apps across a whole bunch of different things personally that I just haven't been at in like months because I just can't get the energy and wherewithal to go back. But I yet don't cancel because I know I might want to go back at some point.
Yeah.
So
Like it's
Because
better
is a
to
little,
get it during the onboarding than having to figure it out later.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. So that was a really important part of the process, I think.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So you started, I love that approach. You started with a baseline. Let's actually
Mhm.
see what the upside could be, 10 to 15%, which is very meaningful for a B2B e-commerce brand where the average order value is probably higher than most DTC brands. Uh,
Absolutely. And really for me, the initial Because campaigns are kind of like the evergreen campaigns. It's like, hey, let's put one of my favorite ones is just our free shipping campaign. It's just like, it has the logic behind the scenes that tells the customer as they move through the site, like, hey, you're only $23 away from getting free shipping. And that's reiterated throughout the product page, and down into even to the add a cart page, and the customer gets lift from that. It's encouraging, and that actually adds to our conversion. So just those baseline apps or campaigns are fantastic.
Yeah. So I would love to dig into some of these specific campaigns because, as you mentioned, conversion rate optimization, personalization is such a wide umbrella, so many different things, levers that you could pull. So you were saying, just to give more context, that basically you'd have a free shipping threshold based on what's in the cart already. The because would dynamically say how much more needs to be added for you to get free shipping. So you're going to see the increase in conversion rate. You're going to see the increase in average order value from those that convert.
Yes, absolutely. Whereas the baseline to that is having maybe a static banner that just says free shipping at $149. And people may see that when they get to the cart and they've added enough into the cart. But this is kind of like a push motivator. And it's like, oh, you know what? I'll just pick this up for an extra. And we have lots of other apps that kind of can run in conjunction with this, like a rebuy app down at the bottom. It's like, oh, here's a $20 thing. And the Because app campaign will say you need $23. Well, here's a product served up right here for you. And so we can tie in. We also use this same type of logic and strategy when we are running our own campaigns. So we run a lot of campaigns that might be like get 20% off when orders over $299. So basically it's like, okay, they're cruising around the site, and then it's like as soon as they get close, it's like, hey, only $50 more and unlock 20% off. And that's reiterated again on like the product page, the collection pages, all the way down to the cart pages. And I think that is really powerful. I mean, that just gets people to keep moving and convert instead of just dropping and leaving. So.
Yeah, totally. Now, can we talk about how you are integrating different data sources? So, for example, a lot of Shopify brands, e-commerce brands would use Klaviyo for their email and SMS programs, and it becomes almost this source of truth for having customer data, which becomes very powerful when you're leveraging it for personalization or optimization to get conversions in whatever page or part of the site that might be. Can you give a high-level overview of how you're leveraging Klaviyo data with Because's features?
Yes, absolutely. So Klaviyo is a powerhouse for us. We generate the majority of our revenues originate from our email marketing program, just because we have a really fun and engaging products that we sell, and we have a really, really engaged audience. And so what Klaviyo allows us to do is really get into the segmentation of our audiences. And within the Because app, you can actually target or exclude audiences based off of Klaviyo audiences. So we use it to serve up different promotions, different messaging. We might have a messaging that's on the front page of the site for just general website visitors that might come from, SEO or another paid channel. But we may have like an audience that we are targeting with special messaging around a specific product that we're offering for sale. Or we might be running an early VIP access that is only open to a really small audience. And so we can use those audience settings within the Because campaigns to go in and serve up that kind of hyper personalization, kind of on the campaign level, but on the audience level. And that really helps us to really target our campaigns and our promotions in the best way possible.
I love the nod towards like profitability there, because I think there's so much opportunity to increase conversion with a lot of these campaigns, but you were one of the users that really stood out to us that's so optimized towards profitability of like offering the right offers to different audiences.
Yeah, and the other thing that it helps with is when you have our earliest versions of when I first came on board, we're just doing these blanket kind of promotions across the board. So everybody would get kind of like the same discount. But knowing how like Klaviyo works, and there's all kinds of flows, there's all kinds of like, you have different discounting maybe at different parts of like a customer journey, welcome flows have different types of discounting and all that. The issue becomes like, how do we not just blanket discount the highest discount across the board for everybody? Because that affects your profitability, and not everybody needs to get the highest discount. So we can basically target people based off of like behaviors and things like that in the Klaviyo audiences to kind of like help like reduce those discounting down so that we kind of reach that level of a better level of profitability overall. And I think a lot of brands may struggle with that when it's really easy to throw up big sales and see these big numbers, but when you're discounting on a large scale, you go back at the end of the day and say, this is great, we made all these great revenues, but we gave away this much. And ultimately, you want to be able to give your customers incentives to buy. You want to be able to give them good promotions and things, but you also don't want to give them the best promotions every single day. And so this allows us to kind of like keep people engaged and leverage different audiences for different types of promotions, different messaging.
I wanted to give a quick shout out to George over at A-Game Digital, one of our partners, and I know one of your partners as well, Joe.
Yeah.
I think this was like his original brainchild of how do we sort of take all of these different segments in Klaviyo. And I think you guys were doing a data science project together to analyze like which segments would need different types of offers.
Yes, yeah. So we were doing George at A Game has been fantastic, and he's the one that did the introduction to you and to Because. We were tasked with trying to find different ways to reduce our discounting as well as this kind of different messaging. And we were already kind of playing with Klaviyo, but we kept coming up against this issue where it's like, well, we could send them a nice discount here, but then when they get to the site, they're seeing an entirely different discount that's on the public side of the site. So it was getting kind of confusing. And then that's when he came across Because, and we did it as a test. And the data science test was a machine learning and a generative AI based on top of our Shopify and Klaviyo. And what we were doing was sending hyper personalized AI generated text messages and email messages to small segments of customers to test it out. And it was a really fascinating and promising kind of like technology. It's ultimately where email marketing is going. But for us, what stuck more than that was actually the Because app, because it allowed us to really like segment and just do this excellent level of hyper personalization, but it also allowed us to be creative. There's a whole other side of this that I haven't really gotten to, and that's just allowing us to market on the product pages and add like cool snippets and information and testimonials and things like that, like, and add cool emojis and just really like make it like fun, where before it would have been difficult to do that in just hacking like the theme on like a product level to get it in there. So we also use Because for that too, for product pages and fun. So.
One other area I wanted to mention, and then again, I'll let you move on with your next question, is I feel like you're such a power user of our badges, Joe. I'm curious why use the Because badges instead of Shopify theme badges?
You know, I just love Because. It's just really easy for me to go into these campaigns. What I like about the Because banners is that I can put logic behind them. So sometimes there's logic. Sometimes it's like, hey, we just got it's like, here's a new limited edition product we're just dropping. But I can make it fun and creative, and I can add the color of the badge I want, and I can put emojis in it, and it can like make it pop out. The Shopify badges are just kind of like ugly and static, and I like to add a little flair by like putting like little curves on like the sides of. You can customize these badges, like you can make them round, you can make them long, you can make them fat. Like I tried to add like a little nuance of like design element to it to make them stand out. But we also use them for logic. So when we're running our like limited edition products, like I'll put in logic that says like, if we're less than 10 products left, change that banner to be like, you know, vanishing soon or almost gone or something along those lines. Or so it really pops up and change the color of the banner too. So I've played around with that. I've tested a lot of that, and I haven't done mass amounts of A/B testing against it, partially because I just think that it's got to work. It's really cool, and I don't really need to necessarily go into. It's better than nothing, but I do like the ability of being able to put the logic behind it, and I like to be able to make them interesting. And I use them pretty sparingly too. I don't just throw a random sale one and throw it across a whole collection page. I did a test with our subscription program, and that's another thing that we can talk
Love that.
about. But I did a test with our like subscription program, and I found out the subscribe badge ended up on like all these products, and it looked like a mess. And I was like, oh, I guess I really don't need to like put the subscribe on this one. So I like that I can kind of laser pick and choose which products I want to do it, and I can add logic behind it. And I can also exclude audiences from seeing that as well too, or segment it, put a different badge image for someone else. So
Yeah. And so getting back to when you were saying that like having different offers for different parts of the customer journey, that's one of the features that I think is really cool because is creating the rules. So if they're not a subscriber in Klaviyo, then the call to action is to subscribe, to get on the
yes,
email list. So, I mean, that's ultimately where a lot of the e-commerce brands, like you mentioned, are driving a lot of revenue from their email and SMS programs.
that's right. And we also use, because in conjunction with our subscription program, which is called Skio,
Yeah.
and Skio has been a really pretty impressive subscription app. We've got a lot of traction on it. And what I liked about it using Because was that it can tell from the audiences if you're a subscriber or not. So it's not just serving up like a static like subscription message. It's like if it knows that you're a subscriber, it will show a message that says like, need help manage your subscription or something along those lines. I also use it on subscription pages to better highlight the subscription option itself. So I kind of have a version one that I've been using for the last like month or two, and I haven't really gotten back around to tweaking it. But essentially what I did is I put a Because campaign on the product page, and I had it display below the subscription option. So on any page where there's a product that had a subscription option, there's like you have the option to buy one singly or subscribe and save like 15%. So what I did is I wanted to see, I saw this on another site. I saw it on another Because app, a site that was running it. And I got this idea to put some kind of features. And I also got the idea to do a little bit of that like old school marketing where you just put like a little red arrow and point it out. And I did that. And in our subscription program in the last couple months since we've launched it has just grown and grown and grown. And I think that it's because using the campaigns in the Because app highlight the product subscription that much more. I also highlight it in other places on the site, but specifically on the product page, it allows us to add in these little features like subscribe and save, get 15% off, like fast, easy delivery, like you can change, or pause anytime. And so like they're just kind of like these little like overcoming objections and little mini like, friction relievers, I guess, that just kind of make it easy. So I like that. And I'll probably go in and test some different designs against that in the near future. But so far it's proven to work pretty well.
Yeah. So that is my last question, is what your future plans are. It seems like you've gotten so much, seen so many gains, and that's what CRO really is kind of like stacking these incremental wins. What is on your future roadmap and tests or things you want to optimize going forward?
So I am continually interested in all the innovation that Because is doing. I know that there's a lot behind the scenes. There's a lot of management, I think, fixes and tweaks going on behind the scenes as they continue to grow. Like they've listened to us as customers, and I said like, hey, it'd be easier if I could just do this on the back end and save me like 30 seconds for every campaign. But when you're making a bunch of campaigns, that works. So there's some great innovation I think going on behind the scenes on the user administrative part of it, building the campaigns, being able to track the campaigns, the A/B testing, and all that. On the front end of the site, like there's some really neat functionality that I'm starting to test out, and I feel like there's just so much more out there. But one of them that I've tested that I just saw recently that Mark and Ashlyn brought to my attention was the ability to add products to a cart from like a link. There's like a logic you can put into a link. So we're running a promotion right now where we have a specific product that in order to take advantage of the promotion, you have to add this one product to your shopping cart. So what I do is I use this little logic, add to cart and get 20% off all the rest of your order. When you click on that link, it automatically adds the product to the cart. And so the neat thing about that is I can test that. I can change the messaging of that on the fly. I can move that like messaging around left and right. And anywhere on the product page I want, I can add it on the, like, there's no need to add it on the cart page if you're already there, but you can add it in different places. So that's something that I'm really interested in doing, is trying to do more bundling and more like these instant add to cart kind of, to push people quicker down the journey. I will say that there's just so much like functionality going, like being developed every day, and I'm really busy, so I don't necessarily get to spend like tons and tons of hours working on this, but I do spend several hours a week, I think, going in and playing around and testing things. And I haven't fully trained my marketing team on all of this yet, because selfishly, I actually really enjoy working on this app. It does take me more time, like, because I put a lot of thought into it, and we run a lot of promotions. And so when we run these big promotions, it requires usually multiple because campaigns to pull off one promotion for us. And so because has made it pretty easy for me to go in and clone campaigns, and we run a lot of the same campaign type of campaigns. So that's really pretty cool. But what happens is I get in there and I don't think I really plan in advance. It's almost like design as you go. And I start going down this like
Like
journey.
Canva.
Yeah, it's like Canva, and it's like, oh, well, maybe the color really should be this. And so I guess if I really had a good planning structure, I could just defer it over to someone else and just say, go build these. But for me, I'm learning about all the functionality behind the scenes at the same time. And I like that. And I also know where I can pull triggers and how I can influence with different audiences. So I'm really enjoying it. So.
Well, fantastic, Joe, and we really appreciate you sharing your insights, your expertise, and all these ideas. Thank you so much for your time and your willingness to educate.
Yeah, well, thank you for providing a great app to all of us Shopify Plus, like, owners, and I hope more people learn about it, because this is really a cool technology. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. It's so great to hear just like straight from you as a user of all of the ways that you're using it, and you clearly know the app in and out, like all of the functionality. So it's been such a pleasure to hear your story.